I love the camera.
Mhm.
Ready?
Yes.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you everyone for being here tonight. I really appreciate it so much everyone be present and be online. My name is Benahan. I'm one of the board member at Christopher School as the chair of Student and Family. Welcome for everyone. I'd like to introduce my team, committee. Please introduce yourself.
Joseph Lombard.
Akisha Casimir.
And we have here with us Mr. Joe Sutcliffe. And at the same time, I had our staff, Mr. Plana. Thank you for being here. And Ms. Rocha, appreciate that. Like always, I have to say thank you. And without them, we don't have nothing ready. Thank you for Ms. Santos, the superintendent's office. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, I got John and his team to be always here to record and be sure it goes alive. I'm going to start in the meeting. We're going to start our agenda. Approval of the minutes for January 19, 2023. And need a motion to set the minutes.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Any edits, any corrections? Any corrections? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes passed. Thank you so much. The second and agenda is PAC officers from I'd like to speak places if we have here Cesar Batalla PAC, General Johnson the PAC, and General Clare school. I know we have right now the PAC residents from Jerry Johnson. Would you like to come forward? Oh, hi. This is nice.
Here. Leg room here.
Also, we have the principal from Johnson School, Ms. Wolf. Thank you so much. I didn't see you. You was in the back.
I just came in.
All right. Thank you so much for being here. As a chair, I just know it's one of my job and duties to check, what's going on, what's happening in your school, how you deal with the parents, how you communicate with parents, how do you workshop, how you spend your money, and everything. So the first thing, I would like to how you communicate with people and how you work with your principal and stuff. So, and you can introduce your name for the record and who you are, please.
Hi, my name is Malin Melo. I'm the president from the PAC in Geraldine Johnson.
Louise Wolf, principal, Geraldine Johnson School.
Thank you. So just give me a little update, how far is your PAC, with the parents, how many workshops can you deal? So
Well, I have here a folder if you want to look at it,
Yeah.
where all the events that we had and our plan for the rest of the year.
okay.
One of the benefits that I have at Johnson is Ms. Mello is actually a paraprofessional at Johnson School. So we communicate quite a bit. She's always accessible, this is the first time she's been our PAC president. So it's been really wonderful to be able to have that relationship and have her accessible. She knows what's going on in the school. I know what's going on with the PAC. In addition to that, she also works for Lighthouse. So she is constantly in contact with all the parents, and we have over 200 kids or so in my house. So she's constantly giving out flyers, communicating with the parents, letting them know what's going on with the school, all the events, everything that's going on. So the communication between parents and school have really been, it's been great this year. Just in addition, her cousin, niece, somebody, her aunt is also a paraprofessional at Johnson. She's also part of the PAC. So so she and they both speak Spanish, which has been wonderful. So the communication has, even at the PAC meetings, has been.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Ms. Wolf, and I know you know everything because as you build in, you supervise everything, and you update. But with all due respect, I don't want you to feel bad, but I want the PAC president to tell me.
So,
I want to hear from you because you're the president, you're the one speak with the parents.
like in the PAC meeting, I worked for Lighthouse, so I speak Spanish. Mostly, the majority of the parents were Spanish. I have a good communication with them. They come to me when they have problems, they want to help with any kind of resource. They have that, they come to me when they come to pick up their kids at Lighthouse, say, hey, this is happening. And some of them I am planning to do a Zoom PAC meeting after school, like around 6, because some of them they can't make it at 9. So they're like, hey, can you? I'm like, okay, let me see and schedule one for after school where you guys could be involved.
No, that's great. I agree with you. It was good to have a Zoom meeting with parents who cannot show up.
Yeah.
So we'll let them know, come in the day, you cannot come in the morning. Sorry, in the morning, on the night, at least.
Yes.
I agree with you. That's wonderful. For the record, let me say that we have Ms. Alicia Perrin, our interim superintendent. Thank you, Ms. Alicia, to be here tonight. Really appreciate that. So how far is it on the workshops with the parents? And I was just wondering how many people come.
Last one was a lot of them, like 50.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good.
Because I speak Spanish, I give them the flyer. Hey, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna translate. I'm gonna make sure you understand everything. Come, because some parents, because they don't know the language, they don't go because they're not gonna understand.
Mm-hmm.
But if they know I'm there, I am gonna be translating, letting them know everything in Spanish. They're like, okay, and they go.
Okay. If you don't know, I don't know, Mr. Blana, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Miss Alicia, she's here. If you need to translate, I believe for requests, you let them know in advance. You have a bilingual department. People can come and they can translate for you just in case. Because sometimes when you're talking, two language, you have to let them know the parent. Oh, hold on a second, let me translate. People talk a lot fast. I say, hold on a second, let me translate what I say.
No.
So you can do that.
I always have my aunt. She's bilingual too.
Okay.
Either she speaks English or I speak Spanish. So
Okay.
yeah, it's like a team.
Yes. Oh, that's great. Love it. So I'm gonna open. Ms. Wolf, you have something to say, please?
Well, no, I know you asked for numbers. I know she doesn't have them, but the Donuts for Dad, we had probably about 200 fathers that came and had donuts with their, we started that about 5 years ago. And it was really just to get the dads involved because we didn't have a big turnout of dads.
Yeah.
And it was such a great success that we've been doing it every year. It's before school. We put out just board games and donuts and coffee and orange juice. And it's been a great turnout. Something that we did new this year that parents kind of asked for was before school even started, we did a meet and greet with the teachers. That was new to us this year because parents last year were asking for it. Like, we drop off our kids, we don't know where they're going.
Yeah.
So we started doing that. We opened up our doors the day before school opened to have them come in. So that's something new we did this year. We do a lot of the same things because the parents really enjoy it. The Halloween, the turkey bingo, the concerts. This year, the concerts, we also stream them. So if the parents can't come, they can live stream them right onto their phone. We do it right through Teams. The Holiday Spectacular, we always get 200 to 300 kids to come through. We have a Santa dress up, come and take pictures. So that's always been a big one. New this year is the grade level parent workshops that we're doing. Last year, they asked for informative grade level, just tell us what's going on in the school. So the teams, last year we did a kindergarten, a first and a second grade one. This year, we've only done the first one so far, first grade. But what they do is they just invite the parents in right after school and kind of give them an idea of what the curriculum is and what to expect when the kids bring home homework. We've also started doing morning workouts with the parents. I'm sorry, you can just interrupt me. I'm just going through the flyers. Morning workouts. We did through the ESSER funds, we did a kids workout and the parents started saying, hey, could we do one? So some of our teachers said, okay. So in the morning, they open it up to the parents and the parents come and do like a yoga workout session with the teachers and the kids.
Good. Love it.
Yeah, so that's just some of them. We have a couple more that we haven't done yet. You'll see those in the beginning. They're still listed. The multicultural night is next week. Every classroom picked a country. They're learning about it. They're going to learn about the food, the culture, a dance.
That's a beautiful event. I love that event. I love.
And then between 2 and 2:30, the parents come in and go to the classroom and they learn about what the kids learned about.
Oh.
We're also gonna do like a video.
Most of the money is spent on materials. That's where the majority of the money does go.
So that's what the committees are for. So every night So when I go to my board meetings, this is what it is. So it's different schools reporting on
Miss
what they're
Santos.
doing.
Miss Santos,
Yes.
can you be mute, please?
Sorry.
That's okay. Sorry, Miss Wolf. No, I see you really spend your money 98.3%. I really
Yes,
appreciate
the
that.
money that's left, is to pay the teachers that are doing the parent workshop. So we
Yeah.
have a couple more
No, that's fine.
workshops left.
You still have 133 bit of, but at least you spend exactly 98%. And I really appreciate that. And that's why we were looking right, Miss Russia? To
Right.
spend. Anything to say, something else?
No,
Okay, I'm gonna open the floor for my committee. Mr. Lamar, you have something, any comments, questions?
No, it's just that it's fantastic. You have a whole portfolio, so many things.
yes.
That's great.
This is for you for a year.
Keisha, you have any comments?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I do. This is like one of my favorite subjects, is parents being involved. And so I'm going to keep this short, but I remember when my kids finally reached elementary school and kindergarten, I went and I found out, how can I get involved? And I was so broke back then. No money, no money, but I had my two hands and I knew that I wanted to help in any way that I could. So I just threw myself out there, introduced myself, and I just think that it's so important for parents to feel welcome. And when you were talking about the bilingual parents, I've been working with bilingual parents for decades in this community and down in Norwalk too. And they don't come out. When there's no translator at all, they don't. And so the gravity of the importance of your work, and you said your aunt helped translate too, I think is just really, really powerful.
Yep.
So one thing that I do want to say though is, in our program, we still encourage the the parents who didn't speak English at all to still come out at our events. Excuse me. And so we wanted to do that because a lot of them are like trying to learn English. So it's a good way to still just come and commiserate that nonverbal communication and just, maybe they would learn something then. So I just wanted to say that. Good job.
Yeah.
We also
Good
have
job.
like Portuguese coming in, and
Yeah.
it's like more like Spanish. So they're,
Yeah.
Say that again. I didn't hear
we
you.
have Portuguese parents coming in.
That's right. And so you've got, the population spreading, not only Portuguese, but we got, of course, Creole.
Yeah.
Yeah, Haitian Creole. So as the population grows, I would love for for it to continue to grow with it.
Yeah.
So I think that that's awesome.
Thank you, Mr. Joe, you have something?
Yeah, I like everything I see here, but I got a standing speech I give at every single one of these because not every school is as on point as you. We as the board, we don't supervise the principals. We got one employee who carries out our thoughts. And back when me and Mr. Benahan started, it was under Dr. Johnson, and there was schools spending 0% of their funds and 5% of their funds. Now, I know parent engagement is hard. You can't gauge it. We can only gauge certain metrics. But you can see, obviously, if somebody has spent 0% of their funds, that they're not even trying to engage the parents because the money's all left on the table. When you see unpopulated PACs and school governance councils, that can be dependent upon how the school population is, how hard it is to reach them. But when you hear something from the superintendent or something coming down, it's us pushing on the superintendent on how important we think family engagement is. And family engagement is one of the biggest indicators of student success. So the more we have our parents engaged, the more successful they are. And I'm glad to see you working in partnership with your PAC president, because not everybody does so. Unfortunately, they see them as an extra supervisor or somebody watching for them to do something wrong, which is not the case. If you have an effective PAC, you got an effective partner to make your life easier at this school. So, thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Ms. Wolf, I just want to say, thank you so much. I appreciate that your hard work because I know it's not easy. You have to go through a lot of things, not only with the PAC, but I really appreciate that you work with the PAC very close. And that's why I like, I don't know if you know, but Johnson School was one of my top favorite school because my son was in Webster School. Webster School was closed.
Yep.
I transferred to be at Johnson School. And I was the PAC president of Johnson School
Okay.
years back. So I know Johnson School very well. I opened the school with Miss Jerry Johnson when she was alive. We cut the ribbon. So it's a lot of memories. So I love Johnson School too.
That's awesome.
But I really appreciate that, your hard work. And as a board member, like he said, we're not told to principals, nothing, but we're here to support you. I'm here as Mr. Albert Benahan, as work with the parents and help you, whatever you need, we're here. I'm here. I know my team is here, because I always say good communication, great success, and we can keep forward.
Thank you.
Nothing is perfect. Things go up and down. Only God is perfect, but at least we can work as a team. But I really appreciate that, your hard work. Thank you so much. Anything else, something else to say?
No.
For the record, let's see, Ms. Bobby Brown, our chair, Madam, is here. Thank you for being here. You have something to say with the PAC president from Johnson School?
I did not hear the presentation, but I believe that it was good, so I'm gonna go on faith that it was good.
Ms. Russia, anything to say? Ms. Lynn, are you online? You have anything to say?
I'll just add that one of our parent roundtables was at Johnson School, and I will just second the fact that there's just a great involvement. We had a great turnout. Mr. Benahan, I believe you were there as well, and parents were really engaged. We had a translator there, which to your point was definitely needed, and just keep up the great work. I enjoy working with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I always say thank you, Ms. Lynn and Rocha, is always working with the PAC, BDS. So, you guys always trying the best to communicate with them and try to help them. I really appreciate that. You're amazing help. Thank you so much for that. So you all said you're welcome to stay and you're very welcome. I just bring dinner. You're very welcome to eat something, so you don't need to cook home.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not looking now.
I see you guys.
My second with the PAC says, I don't know if we got somebody from Cesar Batalla. No, not anybody. Great. Thank you, Mrs. Plana. So the third one is gonna be if we have the PAC from General Clado School. I know we got Mr. Douglas. He's online, but I just want to know, just in case we are the PAC. Mr. Douglas, you got the floor.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening,
Good
sir.
evening.
My PAC president is trying to get online, trying to get on Teams, and she says she's having a very difficult time. So I just emailed you, Lynn, to let you know that, because you asked me to email you if she was having a difficult time, but she just contacted me to say that she can't get on.
Okay, I'll email her and see if I can get her on.
Okay, thank you.
But Mr. Douglas, if you want to say something, how you working with your PAC, you can say something until we speak with her.
Okay. All right. Our PAC is up and running this year. We had elections last year. We're getting more involvement this year, which is great. We have different events for each month. We started in September, which was the back to school night, which was, district mandated. But with that, we did a big push to get parents there and become involved in the school and to get to meet the, the staff and see the different initiatives we have at the school this year. At October, we had some Hispanic heritage events. Like Johnson talked about, Johnson School did, we picked countries from different classrooms, pick countries to discuss and research. And then we had presentations for the parents to come in and learn about the different countries that represent the Hispanic culture. And we also had food, different foods, and that parent and staff could try and get acquainted with that they might not have been acquainted with before. November, we had Turkey Bingo. Turkey Bingo is a big hit for our school. That's probably the biggest turnout for one of the biggest turnouts, because we have other events that are big turnouts, but Turkey Bingo is definitely one of the biggest turnouts for our school. The parents come in, they love to play bingo, and they love the fact that they get to go home and with a turkey for their family. So that is a great event for the community. December, we did a holiday extravaganza focused on arts, literacy, and numeracy. And with that, we had different literature, and we had different games that the parents can be involved in with their child or children. And it was a great activity. And we also sang carols and songs and we focused on different traditions focused around the holidays. January, we had Steam Night. Steam Night probably is, I know I said it's, Turkey Bingo in November is one of the big nights, but Steam Night is probably the biggest night that we have.
Mr. Douglas, can you give us a second, please? Whoever's online, go to mute, please. Oh, that's your Vice President, Mr. Douglas?
I'm not sure. I
Hear
don't know.
me?
Yes, it is.
Oh, yes, that's her. Yep.
All right. Hi, how you doing? Welcome. Thank you for being here tonight. Oh, you mute. Can you remove your mute? Do you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hi, how you doing? I know
well.
Mr. Douglas was giving a little report about your school. You were the Vice President. If you wanna like to give a little information, you know, how you deal with parents, how's everything in your school?
Everything's going well. We've had a lot of activities going on throughout the month, and we've had a lot of progress with more parents participating in the activities with their kids.
And how's that attended when you do workshops?
We're doing workshops.
Sorry? I didn't hear you say it again.
We do a lot of workshops.
Okay, but I'm talking about the numbers. How many parents, you know, around they came to the school?
We get a good amount, probably like maybe 30.
That's good. That's good. You know, I'm very happy that you spend 98% of your money, and I very appreciate that. You know, so it's very good because that's what exactly the state want, so they can spend the money, so they can know we working and we're doing workshop for parents. I really appreciate your value. I really appreciate your volume time. I know you have a full schedule and then deal with the school, with the principal and the staff. So I really, thank you for everything you do for your school.
No problem.
Mr. Douglas, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you want to finish, your report?
Yes. So going back to January was Steam Night, and Steam Night is probably our biggest turnout, because what we do is have hands-on activities for the parents and their children to participate in, and the parents and especially the students love to work and do these activities with their parents and try to build bridges and try to figure out different types of STEAM related activity, hands-on activities, and just seeing the children working with their parents is very it's great to see them and smile and be happy and see them working together as a team. So STEAM Night is probably our biggest turnout. Last in February, we had literacy activities based on Black History Month. So what we did was we had a show with that, because our school is based on STEAM principles. So we also want to include the arts. So what we do is focus on arts too. So we had some performances based on Black history, and we also provided them with literature and books and so on to highlight Black History Month. Recently, we did a workshop, I think it was last week, March 17th, actually, in the morning, about effective reading strategies for parents. So we had that in the morning, and we had quite a big turnout. Actually, it was more than 30. There was like 35, 40 parents that came in to learn about some effective reading strategies that they can get for their children at home. And then what we did was we provided them with little tote bags that they could bring home with little academic tools that they can use at home to work with their child. And the parents really love that, because they can bring those things home and work with their children. April, we're going to have effective math strategies. So we're going to do a workshop on some effective math strategies for the parents. And also we plan on providing them with little goodies to bring home, also some manipulatives that they can use with their children at home to help them with the math strategy improvement. And May, we're doing SEL and healthy activities. So we're going to do the guidance counselor and our school psychologist is going to do a workshop for parents on SEL initiatives and healthy activities that they can do at home to help with their children. And in June, our last month, we're doing a parent resource fair during our field day. And with that parent resource fair, we're going to provide them with a summer package that parents can use over summer to help their child keep them engaged in learning. And also, we're going to have the clinics come in and be a part of field day, and they can provide, parents with.
We cannot hear you now, Mr. Douglas. We cannot hear you.
All right. So the last thing I said, I think I was talking about June, was the Parents Resource Fair that we're going to do along with Field Day. And that is going to be to provide parents with literature that will help them with from the health clinics and so on, different community partners in the area that will be present during our Field Day.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's good to see you, Mr. Douglas. I have a long time to see you. Great that
Yes,
you're
thank
working
you.
with. It's great you're working with the PAC, and that's my passion. And thank you, for all this workshop for the parent. That's why we want to help the parents, for them and try to educate, the help with the children. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for your grade, and your PAC president. Thank you, for her valued time to be working with you and the parents.
Thank you. I think we're doing great this year. It's stronger than last year. She is second year as being the president, and she's gaining much more confidence and growing. And our PAC is going definitely in the right direction. Do you agree, Ms. Godfrey?
Well, for being here.
Yes, I do.
Thank you so much. And for being the second year as a PAC president, it's me, you, your staff, and parent love what she do. That's what she's there for. And man, I really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's tell them a little bit about the PBIS so they can know what you're doing with PBIS also.
The PBIS is a store that we let the kids earn points for coming to school in uniform, participating in class, homework. And at the end of the month, it's like a little supply store that we started, where for the more points they accumulate, the more prizes they could get. Pencils, notebooks, folders, things that, they'll be interested in to make them want to come to school, dress properly, and participate with the teachers. We give out free ice cream pass, free homework passes, free dress down day passes, and it gives the kids more hope that, they can do it. All they have to do is come prepared, ready to learn.
Wow, that's good. I like it.
Yes.
Congratulations. Very good job.
We got a good turnout with them coming in uniforms more often every day. Their attendance, handing in homework, and participating in class, especially the older grades. Because, the older kids tend to fall back on wanting to dress in uniform. But now that they get the points, it gives them the hope to do it more often.
That's awesome. I'm very happy for you. Thank you for everything you do. So I'm going to open the floor for my community. Mr. Lamar, you have any comments or questions?
No, just again, it sounds very active. Like, month by month, there's so many activities. Even in June, I was impressed. There's something happening in June. That's fantastic. And I like that store. That's a really, really innovative way to encourage people to really do the things they're meant to do, but it's encouragement to get some points. I wonder if they can trade it on the marketplace. I'll give you some of my points if you give me the. No, but that's great. So glad to see you being creative. Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Gisha, any comments to say?
Yeah, just two quick things. As far as you guys know, has there been someone that has come in and done like one of those classes that teach proper manners, etiquette? Thank you. The etiquette classes. Do any of the schools do that, or have? I just want to get some feedback on whether you guys, have somebody to do that already or that's lined up, or have you thought about that?
Well, right now, this year and last year, we were involved with Grace, which is a part of the Links program. That's a sorority, and they work with our female students, and they're working with them on those type of things, etiquette, proper dressing, and how to fit in society in a proper way. So our girls go to the Grace activities once a month, and we also have some volunteers from Urban Impact that come in and meet with our male students to work with them on proper behavior and being a productive member of society.
One other thing that I remember we did when I ran a nonprofit is we had asked that a couple of members of the community come in and teach the boys, since we're talking about the boys, I'm glad that you mentioned them, but they came in and taught the boys how to tie a tie. Have you had anything like that or thought about anything, like a class like that? Brooks Brothers had sponsored it when they did it for my nonprofit.
Right now, we haven't had it in a while. Before COVID, we did have it. We did have the Kappas did come in, and they were one of our community partners. Since COVID, they have not, but they were very active, and we're looking to get more of a push to work with the boys, because right now we do have the Deltas that are involved in the school from the like I said, with the Grace program.
Yeah.
So now we want to get back to having the boys have a connection with the Alphas or the Omegas, or whoever else is willing to come in and help mentor our young boys.
Okay, yeah. And my last question is there a central place, like on a website, where all of the PTSO presidents like trade ideas for what they're doing at schools? Like, I know everybody is not the same and they're not going to be doing the same, but maybe there's one school that doesn't know about, a certain events that are happening at another school. So I just wanted to know, is there a central place where everybody's kind of like trading ideas for activities at school? And that's my last question.
There is.
There is.
There is. We have a team.
Okay. No, it's okay.
No, I was going to point to you.
Yeah.
We have a team, like a Microsoft team, where we include all the PAC and PTSO presidents and really any parent leader that wants to be involved. And Lynn and I both use that space to share ideas, share the PTSO PAC roundtable information, encourage some dialogue between each other, and open up share vendor options, and share opportunities to collaborate. If there's a new PAC president at one school, maybe they need a little bit of support, we can hook them up with another one who's more of a veteran to help guide, the process. So
great, yeah. And I'm just offering my help if you guys need me to help with anything or help with ideas. I'd love to. This is my thing, so don't mind asking.
That's good.
Thank you. Mr. Joe Sokoloff, you have anything to say?
No, everything sounds pretty good. Did you hear the speech before, Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm not.
Yes, I did.
Madam Chair, you have anything to say?
No, it all sounds good. I appreciate the parent that is leading the activities, so that's always good to hear. And since I've been on the board, spending down money has always been good to hear. So I look forward to seeing and possibly participating in some of the events that are going on to help support the PAC. So
Thank you. Ms. Rocha, anything to add?
Thank you.
Mr. Planas?
I just wanted to make a comment about the question regarding etiquette and teaching etiquette. I think some of our schools do it in context, in the sense that I know in the last board meeting, they were talking about taking their students. They will travel to the location that they're traveling, and they will take some time to go to a restaurant and eat there. And I know prior to some of those activities, we have conversation with kids about proper etiquette, about using the napkin, about how to behave in places like that.
right.
Many of our students don't go to restaurants like that. I mean, some of them do, but the vast majority, this is the opportunity that they have when they go on a field trip like this. So I've seen it in many schools in that regards, and it's more powerful than just going and teaching someone when you have to really do it.
Right, exactly.
Memorable occasion.
Thank you very much for that. It's very helpful.
Ms. Lynn, anything to add?
I just wanted to add, I was thinking about this as Mr. Douglas and Ms. Godfrey were speaking, that, you know, one of the things that Clater and Johnson as well do really well is they leverage their teams within the school for parent involvement. And I see it with our Leap Home visitors. Clater has a wonderful team of Leap Home visitors, and Ms. Godfrey was talking about uniforms, and those home visitors can go to our uniform site and get uniforms for students that don't have them, and they do that regularly. And I know our SEL team at Clater is very strong as well, and I'm able to communicate with them about parent involvement as well. So I think it's a great team up over at Clater.
Thank you very much for saying that. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Perrin, any to add, please?
Really, but I just wanted to address what Ms. Casimir said about, you know, events that are available, or do we have those at schools? Not necessarily directly at schools. There were quite a few prior to COVID. I know that previously at Dunbar, we had a different mail committees come in and do exactly what you talked about. The bow tie, the mail tie, how to ask a young lady out on a date, all those sort of things that we had done prior to that. But I know that there are some things that are happening within the community. The outfits are heavily involved in providing some, you know, mentorship for a lot of our young males. So we do have some opportunities to engage in.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Perrin, can you please enjoy with us? You know, we have to twist our neck all the time.
We're just getting ready to go. I don't want to.
No, that's okay. We understand. You really tell us that. So, you know, we'd like to come work, you know, be with us, you know, as a team, like a family. Thank you.
Oh,
Well, Mr. Douglas, Mr. Douglas, I really thank you so much for everything you do. And you, like president, is I take it on my hat. I'm very, you know, very happy. You know, it's an honor for me, and you know, to be here and working with the parents. I really appreciate your hard work. I really, really, really appreciate that. And same thing with Johnson School. I'm very happy, and that's why I love to hear.
Great, thank you. And I love doing what I do, and I love working with Ms. Godfrey, and I think we're going to be a great team to continue being a great team in the future.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Our next in the agenda, we have something that I'm always talking. It's about the P10. Just in case, Ms. Russia, you don't have a P10 in your presentation?
I have the information about the P10 in the presentation.
Okay, so I'm gonna skip that and then we talk about that later. And when you do the presentation.
Okay.
Right. Well, gonna be the other ones are gonna be used up.
Yeah.
So let's do the 3, 4, and 5. You know, 3, 4. Yeah, 3 and 4 is yours.
Okay.
So it's gonna be the P10 and then the PAC and PTSO update. You know, the percent of the money, the date of HEC, the district wide list, PAC PTSO officer update, and PAC and PTSO election update. So your floor is yours, Ms. Russia.
So I tried to order the slides in the order of your agenda items here. So the first one I'll let Lynn speak to because it is the P10 information, which we spoke about at the last meeting. And so Lynn did share the guidance of around the P10, what was discussed at the last meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, based on conversations with Mr. Benahan, and I worked with our business office and with parents to really get a better understanding of what the questions were. And quite honestly, as a new employee in Bridgeport Public Schools, I also had questions. So it was really helpful for me to understand this process as well. And we were able to identify the process and the specific people, which was very important to parents, that they understood who are the specific people that they can reach out to when questions arise. So this is just a representation of those guidelines. And, you know, we try to share with parents that, you know, just because we have these guidelines, we really encourage them to reach out to myself or Carly when questions arise. And they do. We really are seeing parents start to reach out more and more.
Thank you. But do you have the form just in case so I can explain?
So I am struggling a little bit.
It's like a battery dead.
I did put the guidance with the attachment of the form
But
here.
you want to keep, you know, if you whatever when
Okay.
you show up, I mean, we talk
Okay,
about it. So
perfect.
yeah, I don't
I'll
want
start
you
from the
get yeah.
beginning.
Okay.
You know, I
sounds good.
think I rearranged the slides again after I submitted it. So we will just
Okay,
start
no problem.
from the beginning so I don't keep going all over the place with this. Okay. So we wanted to talk about the parent involvement allocations. And so the updated report was submitted, and I'm very happy to report, and Ms. Parent and I were talking about this just yesterday, that 25 schools are at or exceeding the benchmark, which right now is 90%. And we only have a few schools that are below, but below meaning 88, 86. So just slightly below, but I think we are in a wonderful place right now. On average for elementary and middle schools, we are at 95.5% used of those funds. And I think it's important so we met in December, we were at an average of 33%. We met in February again, we were at 52%. And now in March at 95.5%.
Yeah.
So that is a very impressive jump, and a large, huge thank you to Ms. Parent. I know she has been very supportive in working with the administrators and supporting the process of getting that money encumbered and spent.
I'm not worried that you've got 3 schools that are known, it's like a Fairchild, the Bio and the Central, and I see Blackham. That's the most high right now, But I have a question. When they don't use this money, the one that's left, they're gonna add it for them, or they?
No.
Okay.
Right.
All right. That's okay.
So then the next slide is our high school. So these are the high school allocations. So on average, in the high schools, we are at 88.6. We'll round it up to 89, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we are.
Yeah. Last time it was not that percent now.
Right. So again, in December we were at 20.7. In February when we met, we were at 38.6. And now the average is 88.6 for all of our high schools. And so there are a few that are a little bit below. And so Lynn and I will continue to reach out to those schools and make sure that we meet the 100%, which is the deadline is coming very soon.
But we don't have the deadline March.
April 6th. Thank you.
Oh, April 6th.
April 6th, 100% of them have to be spent.
Okay.
Yep.
That's good. Well, basically, I don't know what they're gonna buy. Maybe one pencil because $7.94. I know, right?
Never leave money on it.
I know.
Right.
Great. That's awesome. I'm very happy for that.
So the next slide again just shows the expenditure benchmarks, which we always take a look at to make sure that we are staying on target. And as Ms. Parent said, it's April 6th for 100%. Okay. For any parents who might be watching, the next slide just shows the support that Lynn and I offer. We welcome you to schedule an appointment to come meet us at City Hall. We welcome the opportunity to come to your schools, to work with your teams. As you mentioned, the opportunity to share resources and information on the team. Lynn, anything else you want to add for this one?
No, I wanted to add about the budget, and since we're still on the slide that mentions the budget, that one of the things that the grants department has developed for our parents that will roll out next year is that they created an Excel spreadsheet, and each school will have their identified budget, and the sheet will represent in real time the expenditure. So there will be a spend down on the Excel spreadsheet. That was a concern of parents, that they never actually knew exactly how much money they had in their account at a given time. So the grants department was great, and they rolled it out for Winthrop, and then they said, you know what, let's do an individual sheet for each school specific with their budget allocation.
Right.
I think that will help with the transparency as well. Everyone knows exactly how much money is there in real time when something is pulled from it. And so we can all be on the same page as far as the balance.
And also that pressure to see like, oh, you got a lot of money. You gotta get rid of it.
So these are all of our parent PAC PTSO roundtables. The next roundtable would love to invite more parents to attend March 28th at 6 o'clock. And this one will be held at Harding High School. And the focus is around a discussion topic of fostering restorative relationships. And so welcome all parents. You don't have to be a member of the PAC or PTSO. If you're looking to maybe be a part of it or just to learn information about resources and opportunities to bring back to your schools, we welcome all of the parents to attend March 29th, 6 o'clock at Harding High School.
Be sure in that flyer you put Mr. Benahan will donate a free raffle, please.
Okay.
I like to do that.
Definitely add that. If you can go back one slide, please. And Lynn, this is Mr. Benahan, the P10 that we were talking about.
Okay.
Right, yes, so we included a direct link to the P10 form on this form. We are encouraging parents strongly to ensure that they maintain folders with a copy of those signed P10 forms for their records. Again, I think going back to the Excel spreadsheet, that will also help to generate some transparency around that. But I think the hard copy of the P10s in the folders will continue to encourage that with parents as well.
That's exactly the P10 I already sent to you.
Same one you
And the reason I just want they can send it to all this PAC and PTSO leader, because that's the record for them.
Mm-hmm.
They can know one of the schools have a situation that I reported to Ms. Perry. Ms. Perry think, she really handled that. It's much better to do that because whoever want to be PAC and PTSO president, it's not to have a title. Some of them, they like to have a title. No, you have to understand you represent your school, you represent your parents, you represent your students, So be sure you do the job the way it's supposed to be. I know they don't get paid, but I respect that, and I really appreciate they put the value and time with that. But be sure when you have the P10, you write your information. The principal have one and you have one, so you don't go crazy. Oh, who used my money? Who's giving permission? Who signed for this? How much money I got left? With that, is very important. I did it I'm telling you, from Webster School until Bassett High School. And I'm telling you, Roche and everyone, I still have report of that. Saying how much money, everything I spent, and then everybody be on the same page and nobody get lost. So it's very important. Some parents, they don't know how to do the P10. I will be able to, help them, you as well, Ms. Roshan and Ms. Lynn. That's what we're here for, to help them. I don't want the leaders to go, oh, I don't know how to do that. I'm lost. No, never be lost. That's what we're here for. It's very important that P10 be part of the PAC and PTSO leaders. Something else?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the next slide, Lynn was going to just give an update around the parent handbook that was we had talked about.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, absolutely. So I had an opportunity to meet with Ms. Perrin and Mr. Planis to discuss the parent handbook. I think we have a really good plan in place. Just right off the bat, we came up with a list of the different types of information that we thought parents might want to know about. That being said, we decided that it was really important that we ask all stakeholders for feedback. So I have scheduled a parent focus group that will take place prior to the PAC PTSO meeting on the 29th. In addition, I created a form, and I'll create a QR code so that parents can just scan that form, and I can have hard copies available as well. So parents can provide information on a form if they can't attend that PAC PTSO focus group. And we also want feedback from students. We want feedback from staff and community agencies to really make sure that we have a comprehensive list of the questions that parents have about Bridgeport Public Schools. So again, this is not a complete list. This is just a list that we developed off the top of our heads that we intend to add to as well. And we'll put that parent handbook on the website. But in addition to that, we'll also have hard copies available and have it translated as well. So I'm really excited about this because I think, in addition to having a handbook for parents, it also gives an opportunity for parent voice and for me to have continued engagement with parents. So I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you, Ms. Ling. I knew that the same way you're excited, I'm too, because I was almost a year and a half, I was trying to do this parent, handbook. The former superintendent, I talked to them and say it's good to do it. And I'm very happy. I'm very excited. It's very, I love it. I really love it. I know we're going to have something good for the parents so they can guide. And especially, as you say, it's very important I want to listen the comments of the staff. Why? Because the staff deal with all the students. they can see much what's going on with the student. Students talk with the staff. I got this situation. How you can help me with this? And it's good to staff be involved. So the staff, they can let us know. Listen, it's good you put this in the handbook so people know, how to find information, or who to contact. But I'm very glad, Ms. Lynn. Thank you so much for your amazing hard work. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And to wrap up our section here, the last two slides, the second to last slide is just to share the Pathways to Success event that we had, to talk about the different pathways and programs after middle school available to our Bridgeport students. We had a fantastic showing. We had about 250 people walk through the door.
Wow.
And I took account of how many meal kits we had for all the families, and there weren't a lot left, and there were 300 to start with.
Wow.
So
Very good.
we will be calling the raffle. There was a delay in one of the shipments for the iPads to arrive, but we will be raffling off because they every family registered when they entered, so we have all of their information. We'll be raffling off the 2 iPads, 2 Apple Watches, and a electric scooter.
What?
What?
Yes.
My goodness.
You did not tell me that.
What? Yes. So So we
Wow,
have,
that's good.
we have the Apple Watches in-house. They have arrived. The iPads, I just got a notification that the delivery is a little bit delayed,
Yeah.
but we will call those families as soon as they're here to come pick them up.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So happy. Wow.
It was a great event.
That's nice.
And the last slide is just, we had our district-wide SEL day. So we won't play the video to respect everyone's time, but it is there for anyone who wants to see it. We had a great SEL day on March 10th.
I will see you later.
Yep.
That's nice. So I'm going to open the floor for my committee, Mr. Lombardi.
I'm nothing to add.
Yeah. Mr. Keisha, there you go. You have to say something.
No, I have nothing to add either. You wrapped it up in a very nice little bow. Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Joe,
I'm very good. Nice job as usual. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
It was really good. No comments.
that's good.
Well, that was a comment, but no further.
Mr. Planners. Okay. Ms. Perrin?
I just wanted to thank, Ms. Carly as well as Ms. Lynn for all of their work, specifically in regards to working with the families, the PAC, and really helping, school leaders understand the relationship piece. I think that's extremely important between the school as well as the families and making sure that their voices are heard. So thank you, ladies, for all of your hard work.
Thank you.
Yeah. I really, yes, I take out my hat. Thank you so much, Ms. Rocha and Ms. Lynn, for your amazing work. You help us a lot. I know your agenda is very full, but, thank you for your valuable time. Have this in update. I really appreciate that so much. And I'm always going to be here to help and support you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lynn. For the record, let me show Dr. Bolton is here with us. Good evening, Ms. Dr. Bolton. How are you?
Good evening, Mr. Benahan. I'm fine, and that was an excellent and uplifting report relative to the district work. So thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. And for the record, too, I forgot to send Dr. Jenkins. She's here with us. Thank you, Dr. Jenkins, to be here with us. I know she's in the back. All right, Ms. Lee Russia, thank you so much for your presentation. I really appreciate that, and good job.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Very proud. Very proud.
Appreciate it.
The fifth in the agenda, we're going to talk a little, very short for the 49th years of the Parent Convention update. The Parent Convention update, we postponed it for the next year. The reason is because we had to be working with a budget, and the place we're supposed to do it, they put the price high, and we cannot force the price for now because, we had to deal and buy another stuff. So Ms. Lee and Ms. Rocha, we trying to do a meeting with the parents, leaders in PAC and PTSO, and unfortunately, nobody showed up. Only me, Ms. Rocha, Ms. Lee, and Mr. Plana. So I'm trying to let them know the parents. I already contact them. I already talked to them about the phone, send them an email, and I tell them, please, after coming to vacation, we're going to start working as soon as possible to do the Parent Convention. And we had time. Me and Ms. Perrin, we went to the Marriott Trumbull Hotel. We have discussed. We talked with the person who was in charge. Ms. Perrin sent an email, let them know we postpone it for the next year. So much better we can have time because I know it's short time. We have so many things to do and we're all busy. But we're gonna be for the next year, our parent convention. Yeah, it's gonna be, 50 years. Sorry, it's gonna be 50 years. It's supposed to be this year, not 49, but we're gonna do next year, 50 years. So we're gonna do something nice, celebrate something for our parents. Yeah, something good. You have any question, comment, Mr. Lombard?
No.
Lakeisha? Go.
Yes, has anybody spoken with Ms. Siegel to ensure we could roll over the money again?
All the money's always rolled over, so we were already have it. Our budget for next year will be $36,000.
Yeah. Trust me, that's the first thing
I was thinking of that.
we saw. And I told Ms. Perry not to worry, we're not gonna lose some money. So, thank God,
And I would encourage us to start thinking if next year doesn't look like it's happening, try to find some alternate uses for the funds. Yeah, I mean, it's getting up there in the stratosphere for like a one-day event.
Yeah.
So you really gotta maybe, because there's other Title I's uses that we could use it for, but definitely we love the parent convention because it brings everybody together at one time. But if it's not feasible, I know we lost out a lot in COVID, and we're just now getting back up on our feet as far as gaining back the traction we had.
Yeah.
So it's understandable. It's just like, I mean, we were making good traction before COVID hit. I mean, we were up to the place we are now. It took us a while to get back here where we were getting the proper expenditures to fully functioning packs. So we had to start again from scratch, starting in 2020 through no fault of our own. So hopefully we sustain this until get this out of district pack up and running.
Yeah. And the team I have, the committee we were talking to have the district pack back. They already agree. We're gonna have a sit down or let you know exactly. I'm waiting for some of them. Told me that time and day because they're little working. And it's that day I'll let you know so we can sit down and start working with the district pack so we can have everything ready. And the parent convention for next year. I know that's why, like Mr. Joe said, we was all locked down because of COVID and everything. We're trying to celebrate something good for them so they can be free this out. Finally, of course, we had to be careful, but things, we can be around. But we're trying to celebrate something good. Any question? Something else, Ms. Madam Chair?
Nope, I'm sad that we're not having it, but I totally understand time is of the essence. So I really look forward to it being planned out, whatever the schedule and calendar is, so you guys can just hit the ground running with it. That's it.
All right, thank you. All right, so we're gonna figure on the 6th and an agenda is the suspension report for elementary and high school age and race. I believe that's you, Mr. Plana.
That's the expulsions.
Suspension, yes, suspension report for elementary, high school, and
So you received the two reports in that regard, it's in your package.
Yes.
But I'll give you the highlights for this year, the year 22-23. There was a total so far of 1,341 sanctions. And this included in-school suspensions, out-of-school suspensions, and expulsions. Last year, we had 1,577, down from last year. The breakdown is as follows. We had 85 in-school suspensions. Last year, we had 123. So we're down 150 so far. OSS, 1,241. Last year we have 1,411. So we're down 170. And in terms of expulsions, last year we had 43, and so far we've had 16 according to the reports that I have. So that means we're down 27. In looking at the ages of when the sanctions, the ages of the students that committed these sanctions, 75%, 1,014, were between the ages of 12 and 17. So middle school and high school kind of had the most amount of, expulsion, OSS and ISS. High school showed the highest amount of out-of-school suspensions. And in terms of races, if you look at the races, 48% of the suspensions were for students of African American or Black descent. 649 Hispanics were second, 565 or 42%, and white was third, 103 students, or 103 sanctions, or 8%. You have a copy of these two reports in your packet.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, I'll
Want to open the floor for my committee, Mr. Lombard? Do you have any comments or questions?
No, I just, the only thing I want to bring to light is, how that relates to the percentage of the breakdown of the population of the district. As far as those percentages of suspensions by race, since we asked for it by race, how that relates to percentage of the race in the district population. We could have some kind of measure to do apples to apples.
I don't have the actual breakup of racial breakdown currently for the district. Last time I looked, I believe, Hispanic and Black were kind of, almost at the same level. And they were the highest throughout, and followed by white. So in essence, what you see is the two highest populations have the highest amounts of sanctions.
May I interject for 1 second? So the numbers, as far as the two highest populations, that is accurate. But right now, our larger population, Hispanic population. So it's almost about 60% of our population is Hispanic, with African American being between 30 to 32%. So they do represent our two highest.
And what is the white population?
The white population is approximately 8 to 10%.
8 to 10%. So now with that, if it was like 40 something, what was Hispanic and Black, the suspension rates? 40?
Hispanic and Black were, Hispanic was 565.
Percentage.
Now this percentage is off the total number of sanctions. So 565 sanctions for Hispanic.
Is what percentage?
It was 42% of the sanctions.
Right. So 42% of the sanctions were Hispanic, 60 something percent of the population is Hispanic.
Right.
And then what was the percentage of Black sanctions?
Black was 48%.
48, and the percentage of Blacks you said was 30, what did you say it was again?
30 to 32%.
32. So the percentage of Black suspension is higher rate than their percentage in the district. And then the percentage for white is almost the same, 8% to 6%.
Yeah. It's
so there's a little bit lower, but about the same for white.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Right.
Mr. Keisha, you have any comments, any questions?
No, thank you.
To Joe?
Yeah, I haven't had time to do a deep dive, but I noticed right away just hearing the number that the African American was disproportionately high compared to the other two. And just got one question: are we talking about distinct students, or are there multiple students counted in the sanctions?
This is multiple students counted.
So they could actually be African American with 3 suspensions and Hispanic with 2 suspensions and Caucasian with suspension, the same one but being counted twice.
That's correct. That's correct.
I think we could get a better look if we could get a breakdown of disambiguated to get a distinct proportion that will give us a better.
Because then you could really compare it. So
I will write myself a note. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Madam
I agree with what both of the Joes have said.
Ms. Rocha?
Thank you.
Ms. Lane?
No comments.
Dr. Balding, anything comment? You're mute.
Now you're on mute.
You're mute again.
There we go.
Okay, now.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Balding. Ms. Perry, any add something else?
The only thing that I would say, I want to highlight the information around expulsions. I think that's important because some of the work that we're doing at the senior leadership is really talking about how to come up with stipulation type of agreements versus going to the route of expulsion, and really making leaders understand that expulsions, there are mandated expulsions at the state level and there are permissive expulsions at the state level. And we really don't want to get in the habit of looking for reasons to allow those permissive. So what else can we do to be able to keep students in school, but also provide teachable moments for them so that they can learn from their experiences and make better choices? So we're doing a lot of work with that.
It looks like it by those numbers.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Perrin. Wow. Thank you, Mr. Blunt. I really appreciate, this pleasure thing. All right, next on the agenda, we got number 7, the policy of suspension for student and special needs. That's who's running that, Mr. Blunt?
That's Dr. Baldwin.
That's Dr.
and Ms.
Okay.
Johnson.
Hi, Dr. Baldwin again.
Hello,
Floor is
Mr.
yours,
Benahan.
Dr.
Good
Baldwin.
evening.
Hi, Ms. Johnson. How are you?
Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello.
So Ms. Johnson and I are going to work together to help the board better understand the policy framework around suspension of students. And so this work in the Bridgeport Public Schools is guided by one policy. It is Board Policy 5131, Student Discipline. And within that policy framework, there are several pages that talk about the laws and procedures and special protections that are afforded to children who receive services under IDEA. But there's not a specific separate policy for children who are identified with disabilities under IDEA. And it is appropriate that we have one specific policy, and that as leaders, we receive training to make sure that we are implementing the policy and procedures with fidelity, with particular attention to some of our special populations, children with special needs. And so Connecticut general statutes guide the policy framework. The board's policy in discipline is aligned with the statutory framework. That's important for you to know, that it's current, it's aligned, it meets the standard for our work in student discipline. And certainly it's hard for the district when we see circumstances that require the exclusion of a child with an IEP or a handicapping condition, to exclude them from school. But what's important to know is the state statutes are very clear around what are the reasons for suspension. And so our policy also guides and aligns with the statute. And so reasons for suspension are students' conduct on school grounds or at a school-sponsored activity that violates a publicized policy of the board or is seriously disruptive of the educational process or endangers persons or property. And so in our work, this sort of goes to Ms. Perrin's statement about the expulsion data and how at this juncture, we're making some improvements compared to last year. In our work with leaders, we are really asking them to draw a straight line to tell us about the behavior that is problematic and to tell us, was it on school grounds? What policy did it violate? Is it seriously disruptive? And there are standards for seriously disruptive as well. And did it endanger persons or property? And so really anchoring some of our conversations with leaders in that area is really important. It's also important for the board to know that another reason for suspension is student conduct off school grounds that violates a board policy and is seriously disruptive of the educational process. And so it doesn't say, there's nowhere in the policy framework, nor is there anywhere in Connecticut General Statute 10-233 that says if a child has an IEP, this framework doesn't apply to them. But what it does say is that there are specific steps and procedures that the school-based team must take if a child who has an IEP is going to be excluded from school for more than 10 days, that the conduct was so serious, egregious, endangering persons or property, seriously disruptive, that it would warrant an exclusion from school for more than 10 days. And so that becomes what's called a manifestation PPT, where the school-based team comes together. So a principal or an assistant principal, a special educator who knows the student best, a case manager, a school psychologist or related service person, a gen ed teacher, and importantly, the parent or guardian. They're all at the table, and there's a checklist that the team goes through because this child has protections as a student with special needs. And what we go through is the checklist to determine, is the child's primary disability, which might be specific learning disability, it might be a speech and language impairment, it might be other health impaired. These are all terms that we find on children's IEPs that helps to classify them as learners with an exceptionality. And we have to, as a team, examine whether that exceptionality was really impacting the behavior that resulted in a suspension. So because of this disability, is this disability related to the behavior that resulted in this 10-day suspension? And if the answer is yes, and there's a deep checklist that we have to go through and sort of examine the child's behavior across a period of time, not just in that single incident. And when we go through that checklist, if it is a manifestation, we can't move towards an expulsion, and we bring the child back into school, revisit behavior intervention plans, revisit different strategies and approaches, and try to better support the child so that that situation doesn't happen again. And certainly we're paying close attention at the district level to these experiences to make sure that children with special needs aren't being suspended at greater rates than their general education peers. That's an important data point that we need to monitor and report out on, and continue to work to grow classroom communities and school communities that are inclusive and support everyone, support all learners. And that's our continuous work. I'll turn it over to Ms. Johnson if she has anything more specific around the process.
I do not have anything to add to it. Well, I do. Whenever it's just important to highlight, because I know it can be a source of frustration for families and school teams to come back to the table when you have those manifestation PPTs, to take another look and get at the root of why. When we realize that it is a function of their disability, it could be because of the way that the child processes information. It could be for a variety of reasons that may have led them down this path and poor decision making. It really is in our best interest to do right by the student and relook at goals and objectives. Sometimes we are identifying things that solely relate to academics and not the behavior. Sometimes it's a missed opportunity to not look at the student in social settings. Though this is an opportunity for us to go back and revise those IEPs to ensure that we are providing all of the supports for a student to demonstrate socially accepted behaviors that are going to impact them and help them transition for, school and beyond. So that's important to highlight. But at this point, I think we both will take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Dr. Bolden. Thank you, Ms. Johnson. I really appreciate your information. And like always, I say, and Ms. Johnson, I'm very glad that you're with us, and because I know parents will need you, they will call you, and you will give the correct information, how everything about special needs. I really appreciate that. I want to open the floor for my committee, Mr. Lombard.
Thank you. I'm just wondering, are there any processes that may have to be, or procedures that may have to be put in place if an incident or something that was egregious and met all of those criteria that would normally merit a 10-day or more suspension was in a sense waived because that's tied to an exceptionality from an IEP, where it might cause conflict with the victim of the victim that this happened to. You know, so this person is allowed to stay in school where normally they would be suspended or expelled for 10 days or more. But that doesn't happen because by law we can't, because it meets that. Is there any kind of interaction that may have to, that's in place of what protocol to follow for a potential victim or victims of a behavior?
Yes, and unfortunately, that is a somewhat common occurrence where the behavior is serious and it is a manifestation of a child's IEP, and as such, the school team and the families have to work to return the child to the setting, to the school, and then also support the student who might have been the target of that behavior. And so certainly the planning and placement team works very hard at taking a look at what the child's IEP is and how to strengthen goals and objectives and perhaps behavior plans, which are important component of an IEP for many of our students. While that is taking place, we also simultaneously work with the student and family who was the target, and we talk about putting in place what we call safety plans. And in those safety plans, the school-based team with the family talk with the student and parent or guardian about a potential plan to keep the child safe. And part of that plan, it's really three-pronged, where we talk about what will the student do, what will the family do, and what will the staff do. And we look at everything from arrival in the morning. How does the child come to school? Do we need to make changes in that routine or plan? We look at, does the child have a trusted adult or more trusted adults in the school setting that can serve as a sort of safe haven, check-in, check-out place? We put in routines or structures like that. We talk about that we will inform the school-based team of this potential challenge and potential reoccurrence of conflict or violence, which obviously we don't want to happen. So we have to inform the school-based team. We look carefully at things like transition time and common time, like lunch period and dismissal. And together with the family, we devise what we call a safety plan for that student, and we monitor it very carefully. And I'm pleased to report, our school-based teams work really hard and thoughtfully and apply limited resources in very critical and pointed ways. The use of restorative practice facilitators, the use of school counselors, coaches, deans, just to make sure that children who may have been a target in an assault or some other interaction are safe. Relatedly, depending on the nature of the incident, we also try to mediate it. We try, if it's of a nature where the student who had been the target, that person feels like that would be a valuable and safe experience for them. And then we work with the aggressor, and in this case, the student with special needs who was an aggressor. We work with the case manager and the student and the parent to help build understanding around the importance of repairing harm and trying to move the relationship forward in a more positive way. And so all of those strategies are in place. And it is really hard work, but it's also very fulfilling when it works well for both parties.
Thank you. That's
So, okay, thank you. So thank you for that sharing of the process. And I just think that this just kind of goes to show that life is messy. You know, this is when the rights of two people are conflicting with each other. And this kind of messiness happens in every aspect of everything that we do, in, you know, as a Board of Education and life for that matter, be it with facilities or with budgets or with students or teachers. Sometimes both people have rights and they conflict. And so these types of intricate processes are needed. And there's so much more than just stating the policy. There's so much, all those people you identified that go into dealing with the, you know, when the rubber meets the road. So I just wanted to point that out and thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Keisha, anything something to say?
No, thank you.
Mr. Joe?
Yeah, just one question. You mentioned it's all in accordance with state statute. When is the last time the policy was looked at and reviewed?
I think the date is April 23rd, 2012.
It looks like I have May 14, 2012.
Do you think it could stand another review or no? Or it's good right now?
You know, the statutory language around deadly weapons and dangerous instrument and what constitutes a firearm, none of that has changed. I do think as the district continues to work towards building an environment with a restorative focus, it would not hurt to have the statutory language and for us to take a look at it with a lens on what our current level of practice is around our restorative work and where we want to be. And so I think student policies are, you know, the 5,000 series are incredibly important. And this is, you know, a key one. So, you know, in your work as the chair of the policy committee, this would be one that we would probably want to put, you know, on the front as a review and better understand and even work with Bertram and Moses if necessary. But I think likely helpful, yes.
Thank you.
Anything to add with that, Ms. Johnson?
No.
Chair, you have any comments?
I
Questions?
was just going to say that this was communicated very well. I think the board's understanding of this is really going to help us, you know, once we get to governance to really understand the shape of where we want to go with this specific area. So I want to thank you both for sharing and really breaking it down on the board level. It may be written, but it's different when you hear it clearly as the way you just explained it. So now we have homework to do in governance to see how this will affect the work that we're going to continue to do in the district. So I think this is really, really good. I do appreciate it. And also appreciate, you know, you guys handling this with care, because I think that is super important, especially for our parents who may not understand what their rights are or what the students' rights are or what the district role is in this. So I thought that was really, really well put together and explained very clear. I think that was good.
Yep, I agree with Ms. Bobby. Yep. Yeah, very clear. Ms. Russia, any comment? Ms. Lynn, any
No,
comments?
thank you.
Mr. Plana? No. Thank you so much, Ms. Dr. Baldwin and Ms. Johnson, you know, for your report. Very appreciate.
Thank you.
The 8, we're going to keep on going. Agenda number 8, we got the strategy that they are using to recruit parents. As who's represent that, Mr. Plana?
Strategy for parents.
Yeah, that they're using for recruit parents.
I wasn't sure if that one was to recruit parents for parent involvement for PAC and PTSO.
Yeah.
Okay, so I did collect some information when we were asking administrators about how they run their elections, how they recruit parents for the seats in office. And so.
Oh, I'm sorry, to volunteer for activities at school, just to be more involved.
Okay.
Not necessarily on the.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that wasn't clear.
That's fine. No, it's fine. I mean, I think it's probably pretty similar. So the responses were they send out flyers, they use Parent Square.
Mhm.
Parents can actually sign up to volunteer on
Okay.
Parent Square.
Okay.
It's an option to send out an activity and parents can click that they want to volunteer. So using the Parent Square app or email, phone blast, and then also during parent events, when parents are coming in, I was just at one at my daughter's school, and when I entered the event, there was a table set up right there asking for volunteers for different. So
Okay.
they use those opportunities when the parents are already in the building
Mhm.
to try to get additional parents to volunteer.
Right.
And then during report card conferences,
Right.
they use that opportunity as well to ask for different volunteer opportunities.
Because you know they're gonna be there.
Exactly.
Mhm. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's good. Any comment?
Yeah, are there any, wish list resources that you wish you had for recruiting parents, aside from the things you already mentioned?
I'm sure we could think of some wish lists. That's an interesting question.
Maybe there's things, mechanisms or platforms in place that should be used in creative ways to know already have.
Absolutely. I think we use the PAC and PTSO roundtables when we invite those parents in. We always say, like, we're going to give you something to take back, but we're also going to learn from you.
Scooter or.
Yeah. Right. But we're going to
gadget.
but we're also going to use every opportunity that we have you in front of us to learn from you.
Right.
Got it.
And so I think that's something that we try to do to get that feedback back from them. And then make those small changes. One of the feedback we got from the roundtable, we used to have it always here. And they said, well, why don't you have it in a different location? It might be more accessible. So now every month we have it at a different school.
Right.
And so I think, we learn from parents and then we try to build those wish lists.
Thank good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Kisha, anything to add?
Perfect. Thank you.
And I'll probably just end up yelling at the parents to do better.
Right.
Or can we actually maybe hold their kids till they show up?
You know this is being recorded.
That's why my initial thought was to be quiet, but I just didn't listen to myself.
Thank you, Joe. At least you make us laugh. Madam Chair?
No comment.
See,
Mr. Brenner?
I gotta learn that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Mr. Russia. Thank
Absolutely.
you. And always thank you, Ms. Lane, for everything.
Yeah. Thank you.
Agenda, we're gonna keep going. Number 9, we got literacy update. And that's Dr. Jenkins. Welcome. Thank you. Good to see you again, Dr. Jenkins.
Good to see you too.
The floor is yours. You're gonna do a presentation?
It's only a few slides.
Okay.
This literacy update is a small overview of our students' performance, current performance, academic supports that have been put in place, and to introduce you to our implementation, Bridgeport Public Schools implementation of the Connecticut Right to Read Act, which is a new piece of legislation that was put in effect during this school year. So I just gave you a brief overview of the agenda. If you can click to the next slide. On the screen is the current reading data for grades K through 8. We use a reading assessment called DIBBLS. DIBBLS stands for Dynamic Indicators of Basic Early Literacy Skills. And I've shared with you the beginning of the year data and middle of the year data for students in grades K through 8. This data will be collected once more at the end of the year
with the hopes of seeing additional growth. Between last year and this year, it's been about 5 to 10 percentage point growth based on the grade level. On average, about 30 to 35% of our children are reading on grade level. So this visual shows that we still have a great deal of growth to make to capture students who are reading on or above grade level. We launched the reading assessment, and it's a program called Reading Plus for grades 9 through 12. This data does not include Bassick High School. It will include Bassick High School next year, but this data represents all of our high schools except for Bassick. Currently, we have 23% of our students in grades 9 through 12 reading on or above grade level, as measured by Reading Plus. We have 9% reading 1 grade level below, 9% below 2 grade levels, and 59% reading below 3 or more grade levels, which also reveals a great deal of work to improve students' reading proficiency. In an effort to support students, I'm going to summarize some of the academic supports we have discussed as a community to impact change in regards to students' growth over time. We've given some time to discussion around time as an indicator and how we use time when it comes to scheduling. As an example, we noticed recently that our middle schools don't have the same amount of instructional time. Some middle schools, the ELA teacher, the English Language Arts teacher, may have 90 minutes in one school. In another school, they may have 42 minutes for instruction. And there is actually one school that has a 37-minute schedule, block schedule. Some of the unevenness in middle school data may be attributed to the basic factor of having access to time, similar times. And when we look at performance, the school that has 90 minutes of instruction, the students' reading performance on par is stronger. Additionally, during the pandemic, we made a major shift from having English 9 for 180 days to compacting English 9 in our English courses into 90 days. We're on a semester schedule. So we're looking at measuring the impact of some of those time changes to see if that could be the first entry point, leveraging instructional improvement and leveraging student learning. In regards to the elementary schools, we're looking at using time as an innovation to schedule the 90-minute literacy block. If we schedule the block staggering across grade levels, we can use some of the same staff, our ESL staff, our resource teacher staff, provide support to students in the classroom and have smaller group instruction. So we will be looking at time as an innovation to support our students. We have provided a vast amount of professional development to our staff. Grades K through 6 have received professional learning on small group instruction and how to use assessments more thoroughly to inform instruction. We've launched close reading in middle school and high school. Have leveraged writing as a support to literacy learning as well. Several schools have school level extended school day programs in place to support students' learning as well as their social emotional needs. And we are preparing to implement the Early Reading Success Summer Program for children in grades K through 3. In addition, as a district, we've purchased a variety of technology supports to support students. We've purchased programs called Lexia Core 5 for students grades K through 8. Lexia English, it's a program to support our multilingual learners who are especially newcomers to the district. We've purchased Lexia English to support newcomers in grades 3 through 12. Lexia English is a program we piloted in our life class. That class had students with limited and interrupted formal education. And the students really thought the program supported them. So just getting feedback from children, they've liked the Lexia English. I know that parents have seen Lexia as a support to their children as well. And to support the gap that currently exists at the high school, we did purchase Reading Plus, and that Reading Plus program does extend down to 7th and 8th grade. This year, Connecticut adopted an act, and it's for all school districts in the state, called the Connecticut Right to Read Act. And Bridgeport teachers and leaders have launched the expectations within this legislation. We're actually trailblazers in the state in regards to the implementation of this legislation. The goal of this legislation is to support students in grades K through 3 primarily, but the goal is for every child to read at or above grade level by the end of 3rd grade. And to support teachers and school leaders, the following structures have been put in place. We've launched Science of Reading professional development. As of June, all of our current K-3 teachers will have completed 10 modules on teaching reading, and teaching reading is rocket science. It is a language and cognitive-based learning process. This is extremely complex, but our teachers have, in K-3, will have completed all 10 modules. We engage in universal screening of our children in grades K-3, but we have launched universally screening all of our children, grades K through 12, to understand if they're reading on or above grade level, or if they're not, developing supports to help students in closing that gap. We've purchased high quality instructional materials. Our Reading Wonders program for K-6 is a high quality reading program to support students and teachers, students with their learning teachers with explicit direct instruction. We've implemented a variety of interventions with what we call an EASY teacher. The acronym stands for Elementary Academic Support Instructor, and the EASY teacher has supported students not reading on grade level, as well as we progress monitor students in between to make sure they're demonstrating growth. We have hired external consultants to support coaching of teachers and leaders in helping to understand how to implement reading practices at the classroom level and at the school level. We've continued to invest in summer reading programming to support children, beyond the 182 days. And we notify each mark period for the report card conferences parents of students reading below grade level, share with parents strategies they can use at home, and we identify a plan to support students at the school level as well. This was the last slide of the PowerPoint.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Jenke. I have a question. Just apologize. When what is the percent right now our students reading? Let's say they start from the first grade, elementary school, the whole elementary. What is the percent right now?
If you pull it up, there's a few slides back.
Yeah.
It's about 30, for first grade, it's different. So going back now.
Okay.
For first grade,
Okay.
at this time of the year, only 28% are reading on or above grade level.
Oh. And for the high schools?
I didn't share the information by grade level, but across grades 9 through 12, all the children, only 23% are either, at or above grade level.
Okay.
It's an area that requires critical attention and scrutiny. That's why I mentioned some of the professional development that the teachers and the school leaders have begun. It will continue. We would benefit from additional supports. So, for example, when the ESSER funding ends, we will not have interventionists in our elementary school.
Yeah.
And currently, we only have interventionists for grades K through 3. We do not have interventionists for grades 4 through 12. So that's why we're looking at time as an innovation. How could we leverage time and leverage the resources we have effectively to support our students? Because we did not put interventionists in place. That's why we leverage some of the technology programs with the hopes of supporting students. Even with every technology program, the principal meets with the company, a coach from Lexia, to look at their data, to look at where they need to intervene and make changes. So we don't just put the computer in front of the child and not make any changes to support. We look at the data, and the teacher will make adjustments based on the data we get from the technology.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Jenk. I'm going to open the questions for my committee. Mr. Lamar, you have anything to say?
Thank you. Well, I'm glad I'm here for this because I would imagine this being in teaching and learning.
Yes.
So I was kind of surprised that it's here. I didn't even know it was on the agenda. So, but I'm on both committees, so it works out okay.
I didn't know either, Mr. Lombard. but we do study this.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Right. So it wasn't like arduous to put together.
Yeah, I was like, okay.
But so just know, like we were on the phone at
We met at 6 in the morning.
Good job. Good job.
Just so you know, we're talking at 6.
I'll let Ms. Baptiste Perez know it's been covered already.
Okay.
Ask for teaching and learning. So, but in any case, so just a couple of questions. First of all, just to state how glaringly painful these statistics are.
Yeah.
They're really, really sad. Sorry. But the other thing is, are the L's grouped into that?
Yes, they are.
So, I mean, if you, and they're being tested in their English mastery, correct?
Correct.
So if you tease out the L's, what happens to those percentages?
I guess, our biggest challenge may not be the L's
No.
all the time.
Okay.
It may be our students receiving special education services. Because in grades K through 2, our English language learners actually demonstrate almost similar growth to their general education peers. Our L's that are older, that come in as newcomers in grades 3 through 8, they're not just challenged with learning to read in English, they're challenged because they're learning content. They're learning science and social studies. In that content, they may have some knowledge in their first language if they had continuous schooling. And there is a population of multilingual learners that have had continuous schooling. But there's a population that has limited and interrupted formal education. So
Life.
yes, life happens for some of our newcomers.
Right.
that have come to our district.
But I would imagine though that it's the same groupings for all districts, they're keeping the same people in there anyway.
Yes.
So it's not just that we have them. But at the same time, we probably have a higher percentage of Ls than other
Yes.
districts do.
Correct.
So that's why I feel like these numbers, it's hard to hold a student accountable for their English mastery
Right.
at they're at 33% or 35% when they just showed up learning English for the first time.
That is
So,
accurate.
so there's that. And the other thing, I was just curious about your thoughts about, you said it requires more in-depth look at it, but why it plummets from 8th grade to 9th grade or 8th grade to 9th through 12th. I know they're not broken down by grade because we were around 35% and it was steady from grades 3 through 8 around the mid 30s. And then it goes down to 23%. What's happening? Is that because of influx of students?
I think it's a possibility of influx, but we also, Dr. Baldwin and I don't know if it was Tuesday or Monday, but we talk about this all the time. We were looking at the attendance of students in 8th grade and the attendance of students in 9th grade. Our 9th graders may become more disengaged with school. So I think chronic absenteeism could impact their performance, could. So we were looking at attendance data. We were looking at the same suspension data that you're looking at. And as an intervention, I know that our high school teams, I believe, be attending a program called Connecticut Rise in June, I think June, at our freshman academies in high school. We're addressing their attendance issues. Do they feel a sense of belonging in school? Are they connected with a caring adult? Do they have peers that they feel supported by? We're looking at behavior and how can we support students in demonstrating the academic and social behaviors that would keep them cognitively engaged in school.
So does this pair with the math as well, dropping in high school?
Yeah.
So it's what happens when they reach that age and so forth. So then as far as, students and families, are you seeing an opportunity for connection with parent volunteers that would maybe make a difference in the reading, levels? What can be done, what strategies that related to this committee that could really help out with it? Well, something that's already in place or something that could be better?
Well, one of the strategies was to make sure we're sending home books, some of the computer programs. Parents have said that has been supportive of them. I do know schools have family nights around literacy. I know they have them around math. This year for our early reading success, we are paying for any parent that chooses to send their child. They can go to Lighthouse for free. The district has, so sometimes the funding or the payment for going to Lighthouse becomes a barrier to attending summer school. When in the past, when we've paid that $10 a week for a family, we had more engagement, higher participation. So we're removing the financial barrier for summer school, for early reading success, the K-3 program for families. So those are some of the things we've done thus far, at least at the district level. But at the school level, they provide to parents an individual report to show their progress or lack of progress over time to partner with families. And that's a law. That is a state piece of legislation to make sure parents are made aware if their child is performing below grade level. But we provide that status to all families about their child's reading performance.
Okay, I have another question. How do this year's, the slide's gone, but how do these compare year over year? These percentages for grades K through 12 for beginning of year and middle of year for this year, how did that compare to last year and the year before? Is it steady?
This is our third year using this assessment. In the past, it may have been a little bit higher using a different computer-based assessment. But for this assessment, Dibbles, the teacher sits beside the child. So the accuracy of their reading is improved versus the child taking it only on a computer in the lower grades. In regards to high school, it's our first time administering an assessment 3 times a year. Previously, we've only used the SAT or the PSAT.
So this is eye-opening.
Right.
Wow.
I mean, when we drill down on, say, Reading Plus and looking at some of the classes where there is real, true engagement, students can grow pretty swiftly. Some students have grown a year and a half, at least a year, within from the beginning to the middle of the year.
Oh, yeah.
So some students can grow. It's becoming like a coordinated effort, family, teacher, school, student, to produce that growth across more students. Coordinated, the more focused, the more strategic we are as a team.
And I guess the last thing was be a comment. An interesting leap from kindergarten to first grade. Is that just, again, kind of across the board with all subjects? Where, because they went from like 20% to 30%. I think it's okay. But, you know, it shows, you know, that the baseline is met in like first grade and it stays steady. But there was a big jump in ability from kindergarten to first grade.
Well, last year was the first year that every teacher, not some teachers, every teacher received that professional development, every school. In the past, ESSER funds allowed us for the first time to engage in a level of professional learning that we have never been able to engage in before. So it is the hope of all this learning that you will see another leap, and hopefully a leap by the end of the year. And I could show you a comparison over time. That is the hope, that each and every cohort gets stronger as we learn how to meet the needs of children more effectively.
Yeah, I just think it's a positive reflection of the work that was done in kindergarten to bring them up.
Yes.
By the time they're in first grade, you know, so, and then it stays. It's kind of the other factors that bring that plateau to happen. But, all right, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Akishi, you have any questions or comments?
Just a question, the expectations, the kindergarten expectations that posted somewhere on the preschool website or?
We haven't posted the expectations by grade level. Is something you want us to explore? I know that I have
the kindergarten one. That's only because the important piece in reading is for, the child to hopefully have as much being read to them before they cross over to the kindergarten doors. And so I spent many years as a parent educator, just, helping the parent get the child ready for kindergarten. So one of the things was they wanted to make sure that the kids knew the difference between left and right, and that they wanted the kids to be able to recognize their name as soon as they see it. So the teachers, I remember one teacher told me, she said she could tell within 2 weeks whether a child was read to before they actually came into her, through her doors. And I thought that was astounding. So that's why, I guess I just wanted to ask, like, is there are you guys working with the preschools to try to help alleviate some of these low numbers? That's all.
Most definitely. I believe in May, can't remember which date, but we're scheduling open house for incoming kindergarten families in our schools. And we're scheduling an open house for incoming preschool families.
Right.
The interim director of early childhood is working out a plan, and we can communicate those expectations during that visitation and provide it to the school.
I think it'll be helpful. Absolutely. Thanks.
Joe, you have how many questions, please?
Yeah, a couple. And to the point of working with the preschools, I think it'd be beneficial to mention that we don't only work with our students, but that our program we approved, I can't recall the name of it.
Steps to Brilliance.
Yes, but Steps to Brilliance. They offer that program to all Bridgeport children ages like 2 to 5 or something like that. And so they actually record the data, and you'll have that data once they come into the school, correct?
Yes. That was somewhat interrupted when Therese left, and we will revisit that under the new director the partnership with the community and making sure they have access to Footsteps to Brilliance.
Thanks. And also, I like disambiguated data. I would definitely like Mr. Lombard brought up the ELLs and the special education. They are 41% of our population when you combine the two. So that may be having a big impact, because it would be interesting to know, because when they compare us to other districts, oh, Bridgeport's doing so bad, but you can't expect a student to come from, say, Ecuador or Brazil and then go attend Basic in the 9th grade to be on grade level reading. It's just an expectation. And we do have the state percentage. I was just doing a dive on this when they did the English language Bill of Rights, because it's going to have a disparate impact on Bridgeport if we got to expend more funds. And the statewide average is approximately 5% of English language learners, where we are at over 22%. Yes. And that's 4 times as much. So anything that they look at as far as our reading scores, and they also got to take that into account when they talk about accountability. And one of the kudos is that Bridgeport is always leading the way somewhere, somehow. We went from being the only district to mandate African American studies and Latino studies, and the state adopted that. We've got now, as far as the English language goes, English language programs, new mandate, and a new book. There's several districts seeking waivers to catch up. But we're already using the program that's necessary, that's being mandated again. But the problem with that is, how are we funding that right now?
ESSER dollars.
The dollars. Mm-hmm. So, and those dollars expire end of next year. How do we renew that program without the extra dollars? So we need extra dollars to renew the wonderful programs that we, Bridgeport, trailblazed in. So send help. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Madam Chair, you have any comment, question?
I was just going to comment. I remember in the beginning of, I want to say last year, when we were talking about the 9th grade area where they fall off. One of the things that we talked about is the transition period between 8th grade to 9th grade, the supports that students may either not know is there or, tend to clam up because it's a new environment. I remember that was a discussion, Mr. Planis. I don't remember what we said that we were going to try to do to make it a smoother transition, because it's easier when you have a sibling already in high school, but when you have no sibling, like, you tend to tap out. I'll give perfect. I was in high school before my brother, so when he got there, it was easier for him. But when I left, he struggled. So it was just a matter of like knowing that they're not in that environment by themselves. And even just working with 8th grade girls, they are afraid of high school. That's why, we do our best to build up that confidence and that support, even if there's teachers that they may be able to recognize once they get to that specific high school, that they'll feel like a comfortable environment. So they won't trail off, because normally that 9th grade year really determines in some aspect whether or not you finish, because that's your introduction to the next steps of your life. So I'll be really interested to see what we can do to help or continue to do, or if there's already something in place, because this was a year ago when we talked about it. So it could have been in place already, but for that 8th grade transition going into 9th grade for students. Oh, sorry, I'm over here.
Oh, because Dr. Baldwin.
Yes, Dr. Baldwin.
Hi, good evening. That's a really thoughtful question, and important that the board was thinking about it and recognizing it last spring. At this point, we're doing a lot of work to try and address the 8th to 9th grade transition and to improve the 9th grade experience specifically. So some of the work that's happening right now, I've been in conversation and meetings with Ms. Roca Reyes and Mrs. Stevens relative to school counseling, and can we look at our staffing model of school counselors and assign a specific 9th grade transition counselor, a school counselor.
That's a good idea.
Specifically focused on the 9th grade experience. Ms. Roca Reyes is working with her current team of counselors to begin work with the eighth graders by going down to their setting, helping to establish relationships, demystify some of the aspects of high school. We're also taking a really close look at, Dr. Jenkins referenced this data point, but we're taking a close look at the 8th and 9th grade chronic absenteeism and trying to better understand the data that we're seeing, because there is a drop-off. Students in 8th grade were less chronically absent. And then when we look at them, same students in 9th grade, there are some significant increases. And so we'll be looking at this data tomorrow at our district attendance team meeting. And a big component of the work is related to school climate and culture and social emotional learning and building a community of learners where kids feel connected and safe and a real purpose for learning. And so all of the work that we're talking about tonight in literacy and mathematics, numeracy, in children with special needs, it's all connected in the system. And so these are all areas of continuous improvement that we're working on. We're thinking about, we've had some initial discussions at the executive level as a cabinet, as an executive team, about the school calendar and taking a close look at, could we really signal the importance of that 9th grade year and make the first day of school only for children pre-K to 9? And then the second day would be students in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, where everybody's in school, but really helping those 9th graders to get a feel for the school, to establish relationships and not feel so potentially intimidated or embarrassed, just to really recognize that they could have an opportunity to get to know the building on their own and explore and meet people and feel a better sense of competence and agency. So those are things that we're thinking about. We're also committing. We're working with the executive director and program director at a nonprofit called CT Rise, and their work is deeply focused on the 9th grade experience. And so I held a high school leadership meeting just a week or so ago, and CT Rise joined us, and we learned about opportunities for us to engage with them as an external partner to support our work in some best practices, elements of things like on-track conferencing, putting a routine in place for school leaders, teachers, counselors to meet with groups of kids and talk about the importance of attendance, behavior, and course completion. So on-track conferencing, working to build school climate and culture, and also data teams being stronger with collecting data and the types of data. So there's a lot of ongoing systemic work related to this, because we know grades 6 through 12 in terms of chronic absenteeism are a big challenge. We know that capturing kids at the middle school is critically important, and this 9th grade transition, it really matters. It really matters for kids. Their future is dependent upon that 9th grade experience. The research is very clear. So we have this work underway, and I think we're uniquely positioned to begin enacting some of these strategies. And, it would be beyond my hope. It would be really an important expectation, a target that we set, that a year from now we can tell you some of the improvements and deliverables and better outcomes that we can see from the efforts that we're taking now and over the summer.
I think that's really, really amazing to hear. And, I'm always looking to see what can we do to make things a little bit better. I know a lot of our students also, and this is just me speculating, so I could be absolutely wrong. You'll have the data to really prove it. But those students that have younger siblings, and so if they're in their 8th grade year and they have siblings within that school, that responsibility tends to lean on them to make sure that they walk them to school. And, you know, if you got to be up at school at 7:45 for high school, then your younger sibling doesn't have to be to school that early. So there's that sense of responsibility put on that ninth grader now who has to look out for their younger siblings. So once you start becoming tardy, then it starts becoming a habit of like, well, I might as well just not go. You know, so and I know that that's not always on the student, but I think some type of support that we can come up as a district for parents as well. I don't know what that will look like, but you're on the right track. And I'm glad to hear that this is something that we're looking to really put into work for those students, because I definitely don't want to lose them, because some of the inspiring 8th graders, you know, they tend to get dark and twisty by the time they get to high school, and you don't want that fire to go out. So that's a great analogy, but thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Madam
you.
Chair. Thank you. Any more questions? No? Thank you, Dr. Jenka. We appreciate it, you know, and I'm sorry there was the last moment, stuff like that. I know you start working, you say one minute, but I have to, this is a request from parents, stuff like that, that you're coming to bring it, but I really appreciate that, you know, it's so parents they can understand how far, you know, what we're doing, you know.
By any means necessary and any time, okay?
Thank you.
Now that we know that.
Talk after. Now you enjoyed the
Thank you.
The last one is on number 10. But before that, Dr. Baldwin, I have a question from one of our parents here, and they want to ask a question. And now I forgot to ask them when we talk about the special need. Is Mr. Angeresto? Can you please come and ask Dr. Baldwin the question to be directly?
The question that I had, it was if there's a special ed student on bus, what's going to happen if the issue is the bus issue or it's going to be a school issue?
So we have to be really careful about removing children from the school bus. Certainly, it can happen if there is a behavior with a child with special needs. The child can be removed from transportation, but it cannot be a permanent removal. There are time constraints on the amount of time a student with special needs can be removed from transportation. And so it wouldn't be more than 10 days. And so again, some of the same places where children are less supervised, and so can cause more problematic behaviors. And so what we have to do is examine what is the behavior on the bus, talk to the parents of the children involved, work with the parents and the student and any related service provider, and also work with the bus company. Sometimes it's making sure that seat assignments are strictly enforced, you know, so that children are separated. Other times it's just simple reminders of what's expected. The school bus can be problematic, but by and large, we can't eliminate it. We can't take a child off the bus permanently. We have to work with the family, the student, and the IEP to determine what needs to happen.
That's correct, and what you're saying, but I know if the student got kicked off the bus, the parent had to take them and bring them up until that happens to the PPT.
Right. That is a challenge, and that is why we don't, it's not a solution. So they get removed from transportation for a short period of time. The PPT convenes, takes a look at the behavior intervention plan, takes a look at what the child's needs are, and then they have to work together with all the parties to determine how to support the child back on the bus. And sometimes it's social skill development, strengthening the counseling that's taking place in school and the skills development so that the child can better regulate and manage on the school bus. But it does take the PPT to come together, and the parent, as you recognize, is a big part of that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Baldwin.
you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Resta. And last thing in our agenda is number 10, that's math update. That's our Dr. Plummets. floor is yours, Mr. Plana.
Take it home. Here we go.
Between me and the food.
Only a minute to vote. Okay. So I'm providing you a trend of combined SAT, SBAC data. The top is the state, and you'll see it from 2015 all the way up to now at the very end. And you'll see our trend data on the bottom. It's hard to read the numbers, but I'll provide those for you. We, after COVID, which is the next to last point, we're at 15.7% at or above goal. Currently, in 2021, 22 is the first time after COVID that we take the assessment. So this is our base. That was our baseline year. We were at 10 and 10.8%. We keep going. So here you see some data from the HMH Growth Measure Assessment, which is what we utilize for grades 2 through 8. For assessment in the middle of the year, we utilize the PSAT, which students just took. So we don't have that data, but you could see that there's some positive changes in the amount of students that, in terms of growth, at or above level. Still, we still have a lot of work to do. More specifically in those middle, the grade 4, 5, 6, where the growth, although we're making good growth, the growth is still we still have a lot of work to do there. So in terms of go to the next one. I want to show this one. So I just want to show you what goes on when we're talking about this type of growth. In mathematics, as you know, the what you come with takes a role in what you learn. So if you're behind 2 grade levels and you're being taught at grade level, it's very difficult for you to access that instruction. So I'll show you in a minute what we have done in that regards. But we have students that are 2 or more grade levels below. Almost at the beginning of the year, we had almost, this year we had almost 38% of the students that came 2 grade levels below. And in terms of 1 grade level below, we have 29. So almost 50 some odd students, almost 60% of our students came 1 grade level or more below. And so it has been a very difficult thing to ensure that students are taught on level without doing some type of accommodation to ensure that they catch up. So we've done some great things that I'm going to show you, and these are really research based, and we've worked a lot with HMH company to make sure that we are doing the right things for our students. But I want you to know something. We are making growth in moving some of those students. Our teachers are working hard. If you notice in that burgundy section there, that -9%, that those are students, and this is in the thousands. Those students, 1,000 students were moved from that burgundy section into that orange section in 4 months. And if you notice the 5%, that's still 1 grade level or lower. That's the orange, not the yellow, but the orange section. You have another 500 that have moved from 1 grade level below to almost on grade level. And if you see the yellow and the green and the blue is where we want to be. We want all the students to be in the green and the blue, that those areas are growing more than the one below. See the portion below, and I'm sorry, I can't, it doesn't show there. So I was trying to play around to see, but you could see that this is last year. And so we're growing this year at a much higher level than last year. We're moving these students from this area all the way across at much higher levels. So that's due to some of the work that we have done with coaching as well as some of the work that we have done in terms of time, like Dr. Jenkins specified. And here is one of the things that we have done. We have expanded our math block to 60 minutes. And in those 60 minutes, we have provided on-level instruction for those students. But students, like I mentioned, cannot access this instruction if we don't have somewhere, sometime where we address those needs. So we added another 30 minutes of time to grades K to 6 to add what we call a win block, a what I need block. And during this what I need block, teachers take some of that data from the assessments that they do prior to a unit, and they look at what are the components of that upcoming lesson that I'm going to need from the previous grade levels, and they work on those skills during that win block in preparation for the actual math block. So if I'm learning, for example, multiplication of fractions, whatever pre-skills I need that I don't have, I want to make sure that the students are working on those during that win block, so that when I do multiplication of fractions, those students are able to meet those demands there. So in essence, I'm kind of short-circuiting the whole thing. I'm taking those students and I'm moving them faster. I'm accelerating them in order for them to access that instruction. And that's what's helping us move students in there. In addition, we have a lot of students in the past, for example, that are on level, and when we look at the mid-year data, they drop. So for those students, we have to do something also. And during this win block, what we do is, since we're that win block is basically little groups of students that we have, and we're moving them around. We have one group of students that might not need those pre-skills. They might need that acceleration for other things, enrichment activities that we could do during that win block. So that win block becomes a good period of time where we could address specific needs of those students. By the way, go back one. For 7th and 8th grade, we're having the same difficulty as in reading, where some schools have 60 minutes of time, and since these are periods, it's very, very difficult to break those up and change them. So we're working with principals to ensure that they have the same amount of time throughout. In addition, by the way, I put a SRBI period. That should be a win block. There's no more SRBI for math. We're going to call it the win block, because we want both. We want acceleration. We just don't want students to have those types of interventions in that time. But we want to make sure that they have some time where they could do, specifically at 7th and 8th grade, where they're doing algebra and they're doing pre-algebra, and they really need some time to accelerate their students, that they truly have some part of their time to have that win block. But with 40 minutes, it's very difficult to do that. So we want to see if they could get to 60. So at least we could take 15 minutes from the time to be able to do this. It's truly not enough. I mean, there's not enough hours of the day to make this happen, but it's the best we could do with what we have. In terms of 9th to 12th grade, they have an 83-minute math block. And so this math block could be subdivided in that form. But what we're looking at is they're truly semester-based right now. And so that semester-based really takes a toll on the amount of things that you could do for mathematics. You have to teach an entire algebra course in only 4 months. Can you imagine that? I mean, not even in college do you recall all the different things. If you took college algebra, you truly cannot recall everything in that specific amount of time. You need truly, for reading or math, you truly need a whole year to develop those concepts. So we're working to see, maybe not next year could expand it, but maybe the year after. For next year, I'm looking to see if I could integrate some kind of win block during that 83-minute period in order to do the same thing that I'm doing in the elementary level and accelerate those students. So we're really working with the time factor, like Dr. Jenkins mentioned, as well as how do we utilize that time and the resources that we have to ensure that students are moved in the correct direction. This is a description of what the win block is, and the win block is basically, it challenges students. It allows them to access that on-level instruction by providing the necessary pieces. And then it challenges those students that are on or above level so that they could meet grade level expectation. The teachers really work with small groups. So if you have a class of 25 or 25 kids, you'll have groups of 4 or 5. And then every day you'll have a group for 15 minutes and you'll rotate it. So every day you have 2 groups that you see, and hopefully, you're able to see the group that needs the most. You see them maybe twice, and the groups that doesn't need the most, then you maybe see them once. And during that other time, the teachers are working on stations. They have students are working on stations. They will have, for example, they will practice a game. They will have a game where they practice skills. They will have a computer-based station where they will focus on the needs of the students. The either Khan Academy or Moby Max, where we could customize it and ensure that we are also practicing those skills. Or we could have a problem-solving station where we could be challenging students and making them really think about the mathematics. And I said the last 2 bullets. Any questions so far? I know I have a lot here.
I'm going to hold.
You're going to hold. Okay, I'll continue that. We also have, we share the Easy Teachers for reading and math. It's a great support for grades K-3. This year was our first year of implementation of the new assessment for mathematics, Acadians for K and 1. And I apologize, I don't have that data with me, but I'll be able to provide it at a later date if you like. We're making great gains in those grade levels. We have lead teachers, and those lead teachers are full-time math teachers, which support the instruction that happens in the classroom. These classroom teachers receive a stipend, as you know, and they serve as liaisons, and they're pivotal in professional development because, as you know, we don't have coaches anymore in Bridgeport. We do have HMH coaching that is happening this year for 14 schools, and those 14 schools were selected because of their level of where they were in SBAC. So we kind of saw where they were and saw the 14 schools that needed the most help, and we only had a certain amount of money to spend, so we had to be very choosy about which schools we selected. Unfortunately, this funding was only for 1 year. So we're looking to see if we could do something a little bit different next year to provide support to not only those 14 schools, but all the other schools. In the meantime, those other schools, other 14 schools are being provided with professional development from HMH, as well as support from the lead teachers. So they're not just left out there to not be supported, but instead they don't receive the extra treatment that the other ones might need. That's how. I wanted to provide this in case anyone is watching in terms of parents. We purchased the HMH Into Math program because it was very parent friendly. And so one of the things that we love about the program is the fact that the entire book is online, and that any teacher, parent, student that want to access it at any time, they could do so. And so the reason I put this slide here is in case anyone is watching. I know that there's parents out there watching this, and so they could easily find the program completely online just by going to ClassLink. And I put a picture on the very top there with the arrow. They could click on ClassLink. They'll be prompted for a username and password. The username is the username that they use for Lexia or almost any program in Bridgeport, because they're all accessed through ClassLink. All students kind of memorize that after the first month of school, pretty much. And the password is the date of birth, sort of backwards. So for the year, the month, and the date, 2 digits, 2-digit date and 2-digit month right there. This program is aligned with Common Core standards, and it really provides a balanced instruction where you're learning first by doing. So they're not teaching you the math, the memorization piece. It's very visual. So they're using manipulatives, and we actually purchase manipulatives for all classes. And they really start with that. They want you to really learn by doing first, and then they introduce the mathematics that they are supporting throughout the grade levels, and at the end they do the problem solving. So it's a great program in that regards, and it has a lot of different resources for teachers to use. Another thing that I like is the reason I say it's parent friendly is because it has this math on spot video. And what that is a video for almost every lesson, because as you know, the math is a little bit different than when you and I were in school. So it has a video that parents could access at any time where it shows them how to do the different things that they're learning. And it's a great tool. Go to the next slide. I took a little snippet of one of them. And if you click on the bottom, I think there's a play button somewhere in the bottom. Is there? This is what you will see when you access the book, and then you click on parent resources, and then you come to all the videos. See all those little features there are the videos, and you can't hear, for some reason I couldn't get the voicing out, but what you see is this gentleman that will explain the different math through a problem. So he'll state a problem, and then he'll show the parents and the students how to do the different problems that students will get in their book by using the models, because that's the part that we don't know. That's the part that we don't understand. That actual model that they're using, this gentleman will use the model to solve the different problems that they have. And these will be the same models that teachers should be using in the classroom. So it's a great asset to our collection, and it's available to any parent once they log in as they only have to do is log in as a student, and go right into the book, click on parent resources, and all the resources will be there. More. We also have computer-based resources that we have. We're proud to have K-5. We have MobiMax. We have a 5-year license of MobiMax. Khan Academy, which you probably had heard, the Canathlon. We actually won some great prizes in that at the national level. So we use it for grade 6 through 8 and 9 through 12. Khan Academy, which is also linked to the SAT, is an amazing tool for practicing for the SAT and preparing for the SAT. We track school usage in terms of to ensure that students are using it and letting the principal know who's using it, who's not. And all of these are available via ClassLink. Parents could actually have their kid practice at any time, and they're always available. That's it for my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Plana. You when I heard you, it's like I got the passion for the tag and PDS, so you got the passion with the math. Many years, I can see that. But thank you for your presentation. Like always, you are very professional, very on top of everything. I really appreciate that. I'm going to open for the committee meeting. Mr. Lombardi, any comments, questions?
Yeah, I was curious about the win time.
Yeah,
where it came from. In other words, where it was borrowed from. Because you said you were 30 to 60 to 90 almost.
Yeah.
Where did that time come from?
The time where we talked about how we redistribute the time, and we were talking about 90 minutes for mathematics in order to ensure that before every school was doing their own SRBI time.
Right.
They were doing the intervention time.
Right.
And so we wanted to ensure that this time that everyone was doing the same thing district-wide.
Mm-hmm.
Because as you know, we have a lot of movement in our district.
Mm-hmm.
So as kids go from one school to the other, we have to ensure that everyone has the same practices.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the win time came in. We don't want SRBI. We want to ensure that there's a win time and there's a time in reading that they're doing their interventions. There's a time in math that they're doing their interventions and their acceleration. And so that's where this whole idea came in.
So it was just a swap of SRBI to win.
It was really about making sure, first and foremost, all children have access to grade level content.
Right.
At one point, we were giving more time to remediation. And children need to be stretched to grow, to be challenged. So when is more of a kind of like working where you are, but they also need time to be stretched. Research shows students grow when they're stretched. If you keep giving them lower level work, they're not going to grow. So we built in a focus on tier 1 access to grade level content. So even if you're behind, we create scaffolds. Mr. Planas was saying about manipulatives, ways to make grade level content accessible. Children will not grow if they do not have access to grade level content.
Was SRBI for any subject?
It was mostly mathematics.
So it was kind of shared.
Yeah.
And now it's specifically math.
No. Well, we have WIN and then we have.
We do intervention within the 90-minute block. The teachers provide whole group instruction, but they also have a time to provide small group. It's not common in math to do small group. It's a new concept. So Mr. Planas created a structure. Math has never had 90 minutes. This is new.
That's what I was wondering where the minutes came from.
I almost hugged her when she said, "Wow, we're gonna have 90 minutes," because it's so
for
unusual.
kids. I'm sorry, I'm kidding.
No, it actually, you know what? It breaks down the day in such a way that it actually makes it more interesting. Because it's if you were doing just the math in 90 minutes, it becomes kind of boring. So you have to break up those times so that kids are moving around.
But it's consecutive though, right?
It doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be?
No, there's 60 and 30.
Oh, so that might be somewhere else in the day.
Correct.
But that's every day though.
Every day.
Right.
At least 4 times, at least 4 times a week. Some schools, because they have double block time, some schools might not be able to do it. So at least 4 times.
Right.
Thank you. Ms. Kisha?
No.
Joe, you have any comment questions?
Yeah, just a little more clarity on the block scheduling. Is the block scheduling in the high schools like with the 4 months in the semester making a lot more problematic to do? Because you said it's like a little stretch to do it in 4 months, a whole term.
Well, the thing is, when students are coming into your high school, 2 grade levels below, and you want to teach algebra, somehow they have to gain some part of those skills so that you could teach the concepts that they're learning now. So within that 83-minute time, you have to take some time to ensure that you have some kind of scaffold for those students to understand the content.
And with the block schedule, because I remember this, I only know the block scheduling transfer over from Stanford, where they really, really pushed back against it, because like they would go, like say you're taking a mathematics course or a course that builds on one another, you might not see that course again until the next year. You'll have a 6-month break between those 2 courses, and some of those skills could atrophy. That was part of the pushback on it. Do we see that here as well?
Repeat the question one more time. I just want to understand it. Yeah.
You got to take, basically you're taking 2 semesters of geometry.
Correct.
Right? For this semester and next semester. And the next semester you might not even have a math class. That's possible, correct?
Correct. That's correct.
So you're going from geometry, which will be a builder for what? I might get it wrong. Trigonometry?
Geometry to algebra 2.
Algebra 2.
Yeah.
So those skills that would be fresh in a normal year-to-year schedule, just the summer learning was.
That's right.
As the addition of going from January to September instead of.
That's correct. That's correct. And the challenging, that's right. And the challenge that we'll have is somehow, the reason these semester schedules were developed was so we could have more classes in terms of mathematics or any other classes. You can have more classes. I think we could still do it, but when we have longer year classes, like if we have a math class, like they do in Stratford, they do like algebra is full year long, but there's some math classes that are shorter than that. So we'll really have to look at that next year to see how we could finagle those classes that could be done in a semester versus those classes that really need. And, algebra is one that is pivotal to all areas.
Right. If I had to give you like a cost benefit analysis right off the cuff, would you say it's a good thing to have the longer classes or shorter classes?
But I'm always for the idea that kids need time to learn. And so if you ask me and you look at the research, kids truly need time to absorb the content. And so what you'll see is having the longer the periods. In fact, many districts have it. Even when some districts like Stafford, I could tell you because my son is there, they have some classes that are semester based and they have other classes that are year based, and there's a reason for that.
And is there a way to like coordinate so there's not that big of a gap between the two classes, say maybe between geometry and algebra 2?
The beauty of algebra 2 is it could be done after algebra 1. So remember geometry now, unlike when we were growing up, geometry now is an application of algebra. So you're basically practicing. I mean, there's content involved, but you're basically practicing those skills that you will learn in algebra and apply them in the real world to spatial things. So algebra 2 is taking it to another level. You're now going what they call three-dimensional. So that's where you have, cube roots, you have, square roots. You're working with more three-dimensional things. So that's a big difference. So technically, you could teach algebra 1 and algebra 2 right after each other, although I wouldn't recommend it, and the research doesn't recommend it. You want 1 year for students to practice. Now, I want to piggyback on that because we added a pre-algebra course on purpose. And we did it because we had so many students that were behind that pre-algebra course is technically a review of that 7th and 8th grade work.
Mm-hmm.
So that you could have 1 semester to really reinforce those skills. So by really, looking at those skills and spending 1 semester, you have some time to, first of all, organize yourself in high school, and secondly, learn the content or relearn the content or practice the content that you had before. So by doing a semester base, what you're going to do is you could actually skip that pre-algebra course because you could build in that win block, or you could build that part of acceleration into the whole year approach.
Yeah, and the thing with both the disciplines of English language arts and mathematics is they both basically build on each skill that you learned before. So a lot of kids, not to say a lot of kids to this point, think once they get past a certain part that they don't need to study that anymore. But you need that for the next part. You need nouns and verbs, adjectives, and all that for your next sentence structure to build onto the paragraph, to build onto the term paper, to build onto the essay, and you need the number line to build on everything.
Yeah. One of the things in the high school, for example, we're seeing a lot of turnover, and there's a lot of challenges in terms of staffing, in terms of competing against other districts and people that are moving around. And so one of the things that we're looking at, I'm honored to have Dr. Rosa and Pedro Vasquez. We're working in the math department. They're retirees, but they're working with us to help middle school and high school in moving them along. We have a lot of new people, and they need support, and their support is essential to ensuring that some of these things are understood by the teachers. It's not only about having a good program; it's about being able to teach those teachers how to move the students along with those strategies that you knew from when you were teaching.
Just one more point. Why do we have trouble retaining our teachers in some of the districts?
Well, as you know, there's a lot of math jobs everywhere. And especially like if you look at all the towns that surround us, the pay is higher. And so they, honestly, if you're doing, it's challenging to work with students that are 2 or more grade levels below, 1 or more grade levels below. But on top of that, there are many different things that, come into play. And so the short answer is yes. it's difficult. And those that stay actually are people that are fully devoted.
Absolutely.
And that love what they're doing. And I'll be honest, I went to the Atomic Conference last Monday and I saw some of our teachers that say, I want to go back. I want to go back. So
Awesome. So basically the surrounding districts, which are wealthier and probably don't have as many challenges, pay more than a job that would have a few more challenges. So they're more desirable. So basically increased funding would help this problem as well. And again, I say help.
yeah, and support. I think with the help of the coaching, help of those lead teachers have been there at the high school, with the work that we're doing in terms of department leads and all that support is also essential. And that's truly important for, across everyone. But keeping those services, it's expensive.
Yes.
But losing a teacher is more expensive.
Mm-hmm. No doubt.
Yep.
Thank you.
Chair, you have any questions?
No comments.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
I'm the chair. Dr. Jankin, Mr. Blana, I know we don't have that in our package. And if you please send it to us, so I can have it in the record. So, we can read it later, so when the teacher and learner, maybe they can bring it so we can have it. I would appreciate that. Yes, Mr.
So I just wanted to reflect on the thought of having some courses year-long and some semester. That's something I'm familiar with, except for at the middle school level, specifically the 8th grade level. Back in the 90s when I was a teacher, we actually did something similar. Way back then, we had module courses. So for example, math ran all year. The language arts was difficult, but integrated into every other subject. That's hard, I know, but it was into the science class. It was into the social studies class. So those skills were supposed to be touched on during those classes. So that wasn't just the one, but then other classes like, let's say science, I think they're really well suited for a block because you could teach and kids could have more than one experience in that same year. They could do one on Jaws, fact or fiction, learn all about sharks and all about their environment. And the next one, they could do it on, steam engines or whatever, but applying the same science curricular requirements, the standards for that grade level, but in a specific module that's got a theme, and that's something that I was involved in, and I'll say it was a lot of work, but it's a little bit different if it's district wide where you can have a team designing it. But anyway, just to say, I agree that I think math should go throughout the whole year, and of course language arts has to continue as well, and that other subjects might be more geared toward real focused learning on that theme, that content, but always incorporating the same standards for that grade level into that module. So that's just my reflection on it. Thank you.
Mr. Lombard, we are also considering music because and Tito's a musician, learning an instrument one semester and then not playing the instrument the next semester really doesn't build a true musician. So we're looking at courses that would benefit due to how children learn and perform at an optimal level, which courses really should be a year. And it's work that we've discussed with Ms. Perrin and Dr. Baldwin as well. And we've already begun to plan for school year 2024-25, if we can, implement those changes and engage the school leader in that's dialogue as well. Which courses would be beneficial for our students.
And I'd say one thing about that has been touched upon. I talked about this as my one goal at the beginning of the year, is that opportunities are made available for students regardless of the high school they go to. So if there's going to be changes like this, like you said, where you talk to the school leader, what's best for your community, at the same time, each student in Bridgeport should be able to have the opportunity to a particular class. I was talking specifically about AP courses. if there's going to be an AP algebra that should be available at all the schools.
Yes.
And I know that's difficult because sometimes you rely on the staff member, the faculty who can teach it, and then we were talking about, well, what are some creative ways to get around that? Maybe some virtual things, to help. So one teacher could be in one place and yet teaching students in all the schools. You know what I'm saying? They have that expertise. They could teach that AP course, but they can't be in every building at the same time. So maybe there's some creative ways to offer that. But so anyway, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jenkins, Mr. Planano, for the short time. You did a great presentation. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Before I join the meeting, I'd like to say thank you, Ms. Santos, Sam, John, and the team to always be here with us. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Dr. Golden and Ms. Lynn and everyone in my committee. Thank you so much for being here tonight. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Who said it? You said it?
No, I'm not a committee.
That's good. Look.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so moved.
Second.
Thank you, everyone. Good night. God bless you all.
All in favor?
All favor?
Aye.
Yeah, I know.
Sitting here all night.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.